Well, here we are. Welcome to Spooky's Jumpscare Mansion. Created in 2014 but published to Steam in 2015 and then remastered in 2017, Spooky's Jumpscare Mansion is a horror game where your main goal is to get through 1,000 rooms without dying. That's at least in the main mode, which is what I'm going to be talking about today. There is also an endless mode where, fair to say I've definitely played this game. There is also 2 DLCs, which if you got the free version is paid, but if you got the remaster is free. One being the Karamari Hospital and the other being the Dollhouse. I will visit them in a future video. Because I've played Spooky's Jumpscare Mansion for as long as I have done, what I've done instead is I've played it in VR mode. So some of the clips you'll see in VR and some of the clips you'll see in desktop mode, so there's at least some kind of steady camera. Back to the main game. So you're greeted by, well, Spooky, who gives you the task of going through 1,000 rooms to get to the end, without telling you what happens during those 1,000 rooms. Every so often from the very start of the game, you will encounter what is known as Specimens. These guys are what I'm going to be talking about in order of when they appear, starting with Specimen 1. The thing that you see from the very start and can actually show up in the first room. The whole point of Specimen 1 is it can show up at any point during the run. There are certain rooms they can't show up in, but 95% of them they can. Specimen 1 is the only reason this game has jump scare in the name, because the whole point is just to literally jump out the wall and scare you. That's it. So yes, apparently these things are alive and they kill people via heart attacks. They have only killed 4 people, so they're really not that effective. During the run, you can also find notes written by other people that were in the mansion. There's a lot of notes by one person who decided to drink blood instead of wine, but mostly they all died. And you see their skeleton in the elevator every so often too. Yes, there's an elevator and it always goes down. This is also your safe room and how you save the game. For the first 200 rooms, it's every 50 rooms you'll see it, but then after that point it's every 100 rooms. After room 60, you will encounter a special looking room with a note and some goo on the floor. To be able to go to the next room, you will also have to read the note. The note reads, spouting, splashing, soaking, innards, ingest, invoking, nailing, never stops the choking. Once you put down the note, Specimen 2 will appear from the goo. Specimen 2 is a humanoid looking creature, completely made out of goo with no eyes, but a right big smile. He will attack the player, so you have to move and get out of the rooms. The problem is, while he's active, there are random puddles of goo on the floor which slow you down, and you can't bypass them. The Specimen himself will also turn into goo to get through the door that you just came out of. He can float over big gaps, so be careful in larger rooms. If he does kill you, it will reveal that he does have eyes, and there will also be a death message. The message reads, I know what you have done and what you have yet to do, but it's alright because I'm inside you now. We are one, but I am many. He's fairly weak, so there's not a likely chance you're going to die to him. Especially in the base game where only one creature can spawn in at a time, bar Specimen 1 who can show up during the chases. Specimen 2 also makes sounds that sounds like he's choking, but also I've noticed that it also sounds like he's trying to talk, because in some of the lines it sounds like he's trying to tell you to hide. Also, Specimen 2 is a reference to the Lub Glubs from Adventure Time. Just thought I'd add that. Once you reach room 120, you will enter instead a lab. This lab contains multiple things. It explains that the mansion itself is a fake, and actually underneath the mansion itself is a lab. These labs, cleverly named generic labs, ran experiments on the specimens, like Specimen 2 and any creatures we see afterwards, which they also document in a PC that you randomly encounter at a rare chance. Depending when you see this room depends on what you're able to see, because obviously you don't want to be spoiled on every creature. Anyway, in these notes, written by a lab assistant, It explains that they've actually been working with Spooky herself to capture these creatures and work on them. Obviously Spooky had different intentions, which you can tell in some of these notes. In some of these notes, it explains about a creature that they are currently experimenting on, becoming more and more restless, which Spooky just laughs at and then just floats into the roof, as she does. Also see creatures behind glass, except one of these has broken out, this one being the one from the notes. You also get a key card in the room, and when you get out, you will also see one final note that is on blood with a hole in the roof. I think you know what's going to happen here. The note left behind reads, "I believe subject 5 is loose. The glass around its container is shattered and I can faintly hear clicking coming from the ceiling. I don't know what will happen now. If it is out and alive, then it will probably be my last report. The clicking is getting closer." Once you have put down the note, or completely ignored it and carried on walking, Specimen 3 will appear from that hole in the roof, along with clicking sounds. Specimen 3 is fairly simple. If there's any holes in the roof, he will emerge from the first one that you go under, and if there isn't any holes, he will barge through the door. He does very well at straight lines, but has a hard time turning, so if there's any corners, that's your best bet to make any space, because he's pretty damn fast. You can just about outrun him with your sprint, but you will run out of stamina if it's a big room, and he will catch up after that point. Later on in the game, he becomes less of a threat, but early game, he's a much bigger threat. Every time Specimen 3 hits you, it doesn't take too much health off, but he kills you in about 3 or 4 hits. But after each hit, he will retreat, giving you some space. If Specimen 3 happens to kill you, it will give you a very long and cryptic death scene. Have a watch for yourself. Yep, turns out there's 3 of them. Once you go through a few more rooms, including a guaranteed jump scare room and a Five Nights at Freddy's room, just listen to the call and don't stop, don't worry, nothing will happen. At room 160 you will reach a schoolhouse. It's not Baldi's. You can either keep going, or you can go into one of the optional rooms which tell a story. This story is about a girl that didn't actually show up to school, and people are wondering if that story about a girl that eats people if they don't go to school has eaten them. Fair to say the story's true. Eventually you will reach a crossway. If you recognise it from Specimen 3, you know what's coming once you go far enough. Specimen 4 is fairly basic, yet for some reason this one of the main game creeps me out the most. She is a ghost girl that is a reference to The Ring, and all she basically does is go through walls. She does a fair amount of damage, but unless the room loops back on itself, she's not really that much of a problem. I will point it out now though, all the specimens have music connected to them when they're active, but for Specimen 2 and 3 they're fairly simple and basic and you can tune them out eventually. But with Specimen 4, it's kind of like a mix of calming but also dreading, because you know what's active. But the main reason I get creeped out by it is more or less on how it opens its mouth when it gets close enough to you. For some reason that shit creeps me out. Anyway, if she ends up killing you and you're into Vor, you probably would want to get killed by her because that's how she kills you. She eats you. I will say she gets a lot more difficult during endless mode, but that's a video for another day. Also, now I can mention this, there are also moments where these specimens can re-chase you, and the game, knowing that Specimen 4 creeps me out, really likes to fucking spawn her in for me. Thanks game. Anyway, after this point, every 100 rooms will give you a save point. not every 50. So now it gets more sparse. A tight corridor with a door on the left and a light source at the end. Nothing's bad about running to the end of this, isn't it? Who the fuck was that? Anyway, at room 210, yes, that's early, you encounter a very PlayStation 1 metallic type area. When you reach the next room after, you'll be able to go into optional rooms that talk about a ritual that at least was unsuccessful, following by another note saying that Mother wasn't satisfied about a girl not being pure in the sacrifice. With another room that's... hello, Star Wars reference. Anyway, the next room is covered in fog, but there is still one more optional room that has the most evil creature in existence. A crying sperm. Carry on to room 213, and you'll see Specimen 5 coming out of a cage. First things first, the reference is obvious, it's Silent Hill. Specifically, she's the nurse holding Pyramid Head's weapon. She's fairly slow, but has like a weird trail behind her, which is somewhat new because she didn't used to have it. The music's pretty good, having like a beat that sounds similar to a heartbeat, which is fitting, you know, because of people calling her Mother. Yes, it's a her. She is a hard hitter, taking out a lot of your health when she hits you. Meaning in 2 hits you're dead. If she kills you, which there's a decent chance there is, this one has the most cryptic message. If things weren't a Silent Hill reference enough, you get a background that's clearly obviously inspired from Silent Hill, along with a close-up of her face, which somehow has holes in it when the actual model doesn't, followed by the text, tiny shiny holes in the sky, delicate perfect emptiness, black growing absence of life, cold swarming death, and we shall become them. Now you can outrun this one fairly easily, but it can disorientate some people by causing little hallucinations on the walls. It fogs up the world. And if you're playing the free versions where it's 2D, it completely covers up the doors when it's doing the hallucinations. So if you're prone to being easily distracted, this one's difficult. But for normal people, it's easy. Once you get to room... ooh, an arcade. I wonder why this one's out of order. I guess we won't find that out there. We have a Pac-Man ripoff where you play a spooky killing off Pac-Man. Road Rage, where you just destroy all the cars, and one where you have to keep your bloodlust up while you kill people with a knife, aka London Simulator. Once you reach room 250, this is your last 50 room safe zone. After this point, it's every 100th room, so from 300 onwards, it's in the hundreds only. In this room, Spooky gives you a gift. Definitely not a troll whatsoever. After this point, it's just a 50 room run until 300, but there was one special room that showed up, but it will show up later on, which I will get to show you better. Anyway, room 310, because at this point it's looking like it's in the 10s. We go to Legend of Zelda, which definitely isn't a copyright claim. Yeah! Simple way to get through these rooms is just exploring, finding a key, and getting to the next room. While looking for the key, you can also find notes talking about a man that would show up in a village. This man would make puppets and got so popular the villagers were getting pissed off at him, so ended up throwing all of his puppets in a river, and he would cry out about his children drowning. So then a few days later, the children vanished and more puppets ended up appearing. I think you know what the next creature is going to be. This is Specimen 6, also known as Ben, because it's quite obvious it's a reference to Ben Drowned, a creepypasta made during the golden era of the internet. There are references in both the fact that even though he's a puppet, it's statue-like, just like Ben Drowned, but also the story about the facts of how, well, he drowned. This one's a little fucking bitch, and I hate him so much until later on in the game where he's a lot more dealable. In the free version of Spookies, he acts like a certain peanut, aka you look away, he moves. In this version, it's more a timer that goes down whether or not you're looking at him, but if you're not looking at him, the timer goes down faster, causing him to reset position to constantly be directly behind you. You can tell he's going to do it because he'll have a laugh. And if you don't turn around in time, he will do quite a lot of damage. If there's anything that's likely to kill you on your first go, it's gonna be him. And when Ben kills you, for the people who haven't played or know of Spookies, they know of this guy's death scene. To become a puppet is to rid oneself of the pain and harshness of choice. Now nothing you do is your fault, now that you belong to something, you belong to me. You can clearly tell why this one is the most known death screen. Like, Jesus, it gives me shudders just looking at it myself. I will explain later on in the game why he becomes from a threat to a non-threat. More rooms, more notes, a special room that either has you be able to read 3 notes and leave, or get jump scared and continue to read those notes and leave. And then once we reach room 406, there's a dead end. Threshold of consciousness. Kitty! Kitty! Kitty!
Well, hello there.
This adorable little one isn't technically Specimen 7, it's part of it. However, it's the only creature that doesn't actually attack you, and in fact talks to you.
Well, hello there. Are you lost, little one? This place can help those who are ready, but expect turmoil more than you are used to.
This section of the game is more meant to be a chill session. If not for the fact that the very first room I go through immediately starts off a chase, because as long as you're in the normal rooms they can still chase you, but if you're in the special rooms they can't. Ever so often you get put back into the special rooms, but you can't leave it until you go into one of the optional openable doors. So technically not optional. But the cat also appears around here. First of all, people are calling it the white cat, which it's pink, not white. Second of all, in each of these sections, it gives what people say is therapeutic, like talking, which, yeah, I see it. Some of them, nah, but some of them, yeah, I definitely see it. There's lines like,
Two sides of the same coin. Knowing your projections can help you achieve freedom. The mask you wear serves its purpose well, but be careful not to lose yourself in it.
and my favourite room being this one because of it just being so peaceful looking, and I love the music behind it, but also the cat's in here as well saying,
Balance is the key to keeping your mind free and sane.
and then in the final room,
Knowing your shadow can greatly help you, but be ready to see what you'd rather not be.
this one's more of a warning on what's about to happen once you go through this door. This one is either the actual Specimen 7 or the negative half of that cat. I think it's the actual Specimen 7 because, come on, it's such a nice kitty. Specimen 7 is a wall of moving flesh that people would say is a Terraria reference, but it's been confirmed that it's actually a reference to Geiger's from Earthbound. This thing one hits on contact, and there is no death scene for this one for some reason. But the only way to die to it is if you don't get to the end fast enough, but you have more than enough time to get to each section, and the only reason you'd stop for anything is just staring at the little pictures on the walls, which aren't really that distracting. The music in this area is really nice to listen to, and I even sometimes listen to it outside of the game. Maybe could do with the lack of a microwave at the end, but it's a really nice song. Going through some more rooms, putting up with more chases. Sadly, the cat never comes back because I would like to see the cat more than once. Oh, a brain. Definitely not used for something later on in the game. Anyway, once you're halfway through the game, aka room 500, Spooky's back here to greet you and congratulate you, annoyed, that you've reached it that far. So to stop you from being able to continue, she forces you to go to a different room, which looks normal at first until it goes back to room 50? That bitch! So at room 60 you end up in a room with some goo and a note. Wait, haven't I already talked about this before? Hang on, let me just go to this note to check. Ah. So an error has occurred, and it reveals a door that gives us an express route, which takes us to room 511, which is how many rooms we would have done if it didn't send us all the way back. So, more rooms passing by, and Specimen falls after me again. Anyway, after that, once you reach room 550, which for once isn't a save room, you reach the outside. Yes, you got out of the fucking mansion. Game's over. Bye. Jokes aside, why is there an outside area inside the mansion? What the fuck is this shit? And what the fuck is this deer doing here? Oh shit! They actually attack people. Uh-oh. Well, this explains the strange sounds the guy heard in the previous note before this room. Well, the person of the note also got away, but barely, but he said he boarded up the next door, so how the fuck are we gonna get out? Ooh, an axe. Now I can also kill these little shits. Whoa, what the fuck, what the fuck? Okay, probably best not to kill them. And it's probably best not to use the axe much either. I will explain why towards the end. Ooh, a music disc. What song? Oh, that was a bit shit. Well, I'm pretty sure this one's the last hittable door. Huh? This weird deer humanoid looking thing is Specimen 8. A medieval like deer god with the souls of his victims right there in his cloak. He opens it when he gets close enough to you, so you get a good look at your fate if you get caught. This is one of the hostile specimens that actually speaks to you, with such lines as,
"Join us. Why do you run, child? Your submission is inevitable. Your flesh will sustain my children."
If he manages to hit you, he does the same hallucinations as hitting the deers, which clearly means they are linked and killing them piss him off even more. The deer god is a reference to The Beast from the Cartoon Network show Over the Garden Wall. I've not personally seen it, but it looks like something worth a watch eventually. Specimen 8 used to actually just be a copy and paste of Specimen 4, where all he would do would be go through walls and that's basically it. But then he got a buff pretty much, where what he does is he won't go through walls anymore, but if you're far enough away from him, he'll open up a portal that leads from his dimension to you and absolutely charges at full speed towards you. If you manage to die to Specimen 8, you will actually be taken to his dimension, which at that point you basically have no other choice but to walk forward, and yes, you actually have the choice to move. Now, at least a definite amount of what you do, but after a certain amount of time, you'll eventually reach the deer god, and you basically just have to choose to go in, which is followed by a bunch of hallucinations and a text reading. "And I saw from eyes that were not mine, and I felt with a fear I could not reason. They watch us, they invade us, and keep us happy, committing treason. To a king we didn't deserve, to a son who waits weeping. That I knew from knowledge gained while sleeping." It's apparently a reference to Bambi, but I have no idea. Dear. His music fairly fits with how he is, with the old-fashioned vinyl sounding effects, which you actually hear a more clearer version in the death scene. Anyway, you know the drill. Blah 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 blah. Elevator. Blah 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 blah. Boom. 610. Wow, that's early. And there was a lot of long rooms in this one. And we arrive in a lot more metallic room. This one seems more like a lab, the same way Specimen 3's was. But unlike that room, this one's out of power, so we need to find a generator to turn it back on. There are notes from this time a digital tablet explaining that this actually was an old version of the labs, but was very quickly abandoned. But why? And why is this person here trying to salvage something? Oh, for fuck's sakes, the power's out again. Oh, why is our only option to leave this fucking vent that has blood on it? And in this vent, there's a lot of webbing that I pray to fucking God nothing spidery pops up. Wait, what the fuck is that? Well, okay, I don't think I'll ever see him again. Another note shows up saying that it's actually Spooky that's the reason that this person's here looking for something. And if Spooky's involved, then a dangerous creature is also involved. And whatever this is, that guy got caught, because there's a note that pretty much says that whatever this was got underneath his skin and he's trying to rip it out, which is obviously causing him to lose a lot of blood. And the final note, which is on a lot of blood and has having a lot of errors, says you have to keep it close. It becomes something else when it gets too far away. Something I can't outrun. Now normal people would think, nothing. But it's actually a hint, because once you turn this generator on... Wait, what's that slow fuck? Oh shit, that's the actual fucking creature. This is Specimen 10... Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10... Wait, where's 9? I guess the developer completely forgot about it. Anyway, like I was saying, this is Specimen 10. A thing from The Thing, which you can take a wild shot in the dark, used to be at some point the scientist that was here earlier. This humanoid looking penis thing that just came out of that worm is Specimen 10. The worm used to be Specimen 10, but it became so useless that it changed to this one. So, the current iteration of Specimen 10. This guy is slow, so slow that you can easily outwalk him, but you obviously can't hit him with that axe either. Oh, speaking of that axe, quick tangent. Specimen 2, 3, 6 and one other later on can be hit by the axe, and they all do different things. Specimen 2 turns into a puddle of goo but eventually comes back up. Specimen 3 does the same thing he does when he hits you, aka backpedal for a bit. Specimen 6 can't do anything until you get to the next room, so you could just go to the room, have him show up and then just whack him. Oh, and also if you're pissed off at Specimen 1 you can whack them as well. Anyway, back to the actual specimen we're talking about here. If you listened to the note, you would stay close to it, but it gets very boring very fast because during the next 100 rooms, every single one of these rooms is huge. If you stray away far enough, you'll learn why you have to stay close. But firstly, if you stay close to him enough, he will open his jaw, which is just a giant mouth belly. Yes, weird. But if you go too far from him, he turns into his actual form. This little worm thing is the actual Specimen 10. This is the thing that took over the guy from the notes. Yes. Takes over your body, mind, and God forbid if you're still alive while it's in control, because I can imagine it's terrifying. This fucker does a lot of damage. And in his worm form, is faster than you, and you are likely to die to him the same way with Ben. If you're not aware of what he is, then you're gonna die to him. And when you do, you get flashed with subliminal messages, along with text and binary code, which I will read both. The main text reads, "Now you have nothing to fear. Now you have nothing to think. Follow your selfish desires. Follow your natural instincts. After all, you're just an animal. It's much easier than trying to think." And the binary code reads 010110001. You are more than just an animal. Use the soul you've been given and be responsible for your actions. Basically, yes, you are actually aware while being taken over, and it's your last little bit of humanity just trying to break out. But because it's your last bit of humanity, it's very difficult to understand, since all you're doing is trying to fight back a parasite. A parasite that's trying to convince you that you're just an animal. Specimen 10's theme always seems to give me the chills, just merely because thinking, what is going on in a person that's been taken over's mind? Like his actual mind, not the specimen's mind. I like Specimen 10, especially when he comes back after the 600s, because throughout the entirety of the 500s, every room is huge, so even if it's not there, you take ages. Just enough time to hear Specimen 4's theme entirely, multiple times. Yes, I told you she keeps showing up frequently for me. I am shocked one of the note writers is still alive after this far. To a point where he was so thirsty he drank blood without realising it was blood, but still alive, maybe we'll meet him. Well, I guess every specimen is at the 10th room of the new floor. At 710, a McDonald's! And a fairly accurate one too. With blood in the toilets, most of them being full of shit. Notes talking about how the staff abuse their employees, which these notes talk about one in particular that basically refuses to try the burger because it seems like the same people keep coming back buying a shitload of them, but it's like they're entranced. But when he finally caves in and eats the burger himself, he finds out why. A play area that's just you going through a small section that has metal bars with blood on it. Yes, fairly normal for McDonald's. And lastly, a floating ghost cow thing that has a fire crown. This is Specimen 11. The thing that everyone likely saw when they had the burgers. I don't know what you would call this one, so I guess a cow god. It's trying to defend cows that are already killed and turned into beef. He's basically like Specimen 4 in the form of he can go through walls. This one can also be hit, but it causes him to teleport instead of just being hit. But unlike Specimen 4, he does a special ability where he makes the door invisible. Meaning if you don't already know the room layout, you're gonna have a hard time finding that door. You can barely hear it, but this one does actually speak to you. But it speaks to you in reverse.
Turn to me. Stop running away. I see you. I will get you.
If he manages to kill you, which depending on how easily disorientated you are, he might, he also transports you to a dimension just like with Specimen 8. It's claimed to be made entirely out of beef, but it's just red walls out of metal. But just like with Specimen 8, you have to go to him and you ain't getting out until you actually make contact with him, and that getting out is in the form of death scene. This death scene is like with Specimen 10, where you see normal text and binary. This one reading, with every bite with bone and skin, the temple groaned and shook again. His dwelling place did I neglect, to the end with bad effect. And the binary, believe in God, but question the teaching of man. Yeah, for some reason, Kira was getting very Christian-y with this one. They very much regret doing it because it felt forced rather than optional. But the actual reference to the area it's from is actually a Wendy's because they actually treat their staff like shit. The music on this one is fairly basic. There isn't really much to talk about Specimen 11. Next one. Ooh, we have another checkpoint at room 750. Spooky's there and is very shocked just at the fact that you survived this long and that you got an axe. She decides to gift you with unlimited stamina. The problem is, you can't sprint now. And for the next few rooms, you'll have the infinite stamina. And 9 times out of 10, specifically Ben will spawn in on you. So you can't hit him either, but it's also not that much of a problem since you can't sprint. So it's a little bit fair, at least. Let's skip to 810 with another Specimen 4. Where we enter a mansion. Well, I thought we were already in a mansion. What? Well, guess it's time to explore. Jeez, there's a lot of locked doors around here. And what's this about someone that they escaped from? Is that the creature? And where is it? And now there's a note here explaining that basically that the walls are fake. Okay. Well, at least there's a bedroom key here. I also might as well explore the other areas too. Oh, here's another note in a wine cellar. Well, not a cellar, but you know what I mean. It's basically saying that whatever's in this area, they need to hide. Wait, what's with the music change? Why is there a hide option behind this box? What the fuck's going on? Wait, that's the creature? It's just an old man with a scythe. So, this old man is Specimen 12, and his whole point is being the scissor guy from Clock Tower. You can also tell with the music as well, it kind of is inspired by it. In this area, you just find ways to get out, and it leads to a hidden basement. This hidden basement is the actual look for the mansion, not what was upstairs. In the basement area, you can find all the dead bodies that the old man has killed, but also you can find the last remaining key to get out. However, every time he does become active where you have to hide, you kinda can't get out until you hide and wait. You also find more notes in the area that actually explains that Specimen 12 is actually the mansion. What has happened is it takes over someone, and while taking over someone, it drives them to kill as many people as they can, and if you manage to kill said person, you get taken over instead. You can't kill the old man because he actually parries your shots, so good luck hitting him. However, if you somehow manage to die by him, which the only way you're going to is if you're brand new to this and are not aware that you have to hide, he one-shots you when you have to hide, but while actually in the main game, he does a lot of damage, but he's very, very slow. Anyway, if you manage to die by him, you just get a close-up of Saul Goodman. Because apparently that's what he looks like to people. After the main bit, and you actually are back into the hallways of the actual mansion, what happens is he has a reverse charge meter, so he starts off at 0, the same way you start off at 100, and once he gets to 100, he full bolts it. But it's very rare he'll either ever make it to you, or even ever use it at all, because the rooms are usually that small. For one of the final creatures in the game, at least in the main game, this one's really weak. It makes sense for a starting creature, but not an ending one. He does have a theme, but it only really plays during the fake mansion, not when he returns for a rechase, which is unfortunate, really. Another thing of note related to Specimen 12 is the fact that, like with those bodies downstairs, you can also tell with like the red smoke, it's basically them telling you there's danger, but then once you've actually gotten the key to get out, it goes green, basically saying, you're all good, thank you. The old man also talks to you with cringy lines such as,
I can smell you. You like being dead. I promise. I'm so lonely.
Well, we only have one more specimen to go. Oh, hello, random brain again. I wonder if I can actually hit the thing. Oh. Code? Oh. Up. Nope. I guess it caused their death. I wonder what this is going to be used for. Anyway, room 910. As per usual with the 10s, we have amnesia by the looks of things. In this area, your goal is to simply deflood a room so then you can get through and access the next area. However, you need to get into rooms that apparently you can't see, even though you can obviously see it. So you need to find some kind of light. And here's where it's quite obvious it's an amnesia reference, because that light is a lantern. There's also a room with a giant whale in it, and it's like, how much room is in this area? Jesus. Anyway, there's also notes saying about a creature that's been eating these whales from the inside out. Uh-oh, for that whale. Once we actually get the lantern, and we also find a code that is quite obviously labelled on a note, we are able to get the thing we need to get out by draining the water. Not fully, but it's draining. The code is the same every single time, but if you put the code in before reading a note, it doesn't accept it. Anyway, before we enter this room, let's be aware of what we're looking for here. There are notes saying about something calling out to someone to basically go into the watered up area. Siren-like, let's say. And once you actually enter the area and see all the boxes on the water that you can go on, it is quite obvious which amnesia creature it is. Which amnesia creature it is. So, when we find a key and access the next area, which is the final bit before we can actually run through all this, this is the creature, a mermaid-looking creature. Let's just say there's going to be a few people out there who are going to be going awooga and trying to look at her tits. But if you try, she will jump off, and now you've got your threat. She's practically invisible except for splashes in the water, and staying in the water means she knows exactly where you are, and the only way to get her to fuck off is by standing on these boxes. Or being quick enough to the door. This is Specimen 13. Specimen 13 is a reference to obviously amnesia, but specifically the water monster. It works exactly the same as the water monster, except there are consistent ways to get out instead of sudden panics. Her theme is fairly nice. It's ominously peaceful, which is a weird statement, but yes, it is. This is the only time that I'm ever going to say anything about endless mode until I make an endless mode video. But she can V-chase during endless mode, and I hate the fact that she got added to that V-chase cycle because it slows everything down because you're in water the entire time and the water slows you down. Anyway, there's nothing much to Specimen 13. It's just keep running, and if she gets close, stand on her box. She will fuck off, and if she fucks off to the place you need to go, just keep jumping on and off until she decides to go in opposite direction. For the last creature, that was a fairly simple one too. More difficult than the old man, but, you know. If you do die to her, you see a screen of her shaking, but what it actually is her drowning you. And you eventually do see what her face looks like, and she goes from looking like she's in her 20s to in her 80s. Have fun with that, with anyone who wanted to have a toss to that. So, that's the final specimen, Specimen 13. Now you can continue on like normal, and any other specimens that return for a little bit. But also, if you encounter the arcade area during this last stretch, that fourth machine that was down, you can now enter a code on it, and that code was the code that you got from dying to the brain. Putting that code in gives you a story in the form of pictures, but you can tell what's happened in that story. What this story is when Spooky was alive as a little girl, she really did like to jump scare people. And what happened was no one was being scared of her. So she had to do a last ditch effort of firecrackers. The problem with those firecrackers were it caused someone to set off the PTSD from the war and ended up shooting her dead on the spot. Yeah, this showed how Spooky died. It hasn't shown how she exists as a ghost now. You will find out on a different video, but yeah. So yeah, the game carries on like normal, and I swear it increases the amount of rechases you can have. But once you reach 995, you reach your final save point. After that, you reach the exit door. And it's locked up, but all you have to do is hit it with your axe. And then you're free. A bit cartoony looking, but it's the style of the game, I guess. Fake. Yep, Spooky faked you out and wasn't happy about the fact you even made it to the end to begin with. After she hears a very monstrous scream, it gives her an idea to give you a quote-unquote final test. Opening a new door, which leads you to a very dusty black and white area. And there is a radio that gives a very weirdly cryptic message. There is a hidden meaning behind it, but that's not known yet. You don't just go through the rooms like normal anymore, you just push them open. But the final one that you go through is labelled 731. Once you go through this door, you hear a screech. This is Specimen 9. Specimen 9 can show up at any point during the game if you're AFK long enough, or if you go through that hallway, which is actually a trap. If it kills you via that, it treats it as if you were AFK, so it stays on the screensaver until you get back, and then plays a death scene of just opening a door and just charging you, followed by a spam of text. Yeah, he's new to Discord. Don't bully him about it. He doesn't know about don't spam everyone. In normal cases, he's just a floating head. But once you've reached the end of the game, he builds himself a body. And this is a boss fight. The boss fight is simple. He'll start putting stuff on your screen so you have a hard time seeing. He has a hand attack which puts a shadow hand on the ground that has little hands coming out of it. He has two ear looking guys coming for you, and he also shoots up pillars in the sky with all the souls he's taken. You can't hit him from up there, but when he uses an attack that shoots orbs at you, you can hit the orbs back, causing him to go down, and you just pummel him with the axe. Keep going until you win. If you win, there are two endings here. Actually, technically three, but I will explain the third one later. The first ending is if you use the axe too many times, you will rapidly attack him non-stop, and Spooky will be so impressed that she makes you the 14th specimen.
You did it! It was interesting watching you swing your axe around like that. I know you'll make a fine specimen.
Which is followed by a screenshot of you with the axe with the text bad ending. The quote unquote good ending, where the roof caves in on you, you die, and then this scene happens.
Well, you died. In a pretty tragic way, too. Just tragic enough for you to become a ghost. Good job, by the way, making it this far. So buckle up, soldier, because now, I finally think we have enough troops to invade. The time has come, my loyal troops. No longer shall we be called cute or adorable. No longer will we be disregarded and ignored. For now, we are the most feared army in the world.
The third ending plays if you're a complete pussy and turn off jump scares, where she just was like,
Congratulations, you've done it. You can go home now, and if anything changes, we'll let you know. Bye.
you just walk up the stairs and that's that. Nothing special, no nothing. Technically a good ending since you don't die either. But yeah, that's all the endings. Right, before the end of the game, there's something else I want to mention here. I was waiting till now to say it because it spoils it as you go. Every so often, you will encounter a room that has a PC. In this PC, we'll show you what creature it is, and how many people have killed, and how they kill people, and a little description about them. It usually spoils the next two creatures if you haven't seen them yet, but I'm doing this now, so you get to be told all of them. Specimen 1 has killed 4 people, and the way they kill them is heart attack. It is proven not effective on healthy subjects, so yeah, that's why only 4. Specimen 2 has killed 137 people via physical tearing, and it's fairly effective against weaker subjects, so it gets a lot more done. Specimen 3 has killed 43 people via infectious bite, and is actually something created by the labs themselves, called generic labs, yes, I remember. But yes, they created Specimen 3. Specimen 4 has killed 85 people. It says consumptions, but let's be honest, it's 4. And it came from the 14th century and was able to get captured by the labs. However, they can't seem to find out what the origins of her were. Specimen 5 has questionably killed 168, potentially more. We don't know her methods of killing, and they were found outside a church, which obviously just adds on to the fact that there was a cult worshipping her. Specimen 6 has killed 189 people, and the method of killing is physical punches. You can guess what with. He's a life-size puppet found floating in a reservoir where a town had once been. So basically confirming the story. And he is most effective against people who disregard it or have vision impairments. So if you're blind, you're fucked. Specimen 7, specifically the wall version, has killed 93 people, but no one knows how. They're constantly changing form and their attributes depending on the subject's personality, and it is only effective on subjects with past trauma or history of psychological issues. So everyone! Specimen 8 has killed 149 people via absorption. He's a floating figure that has appeared in the test chamber a few years after it got filled with what we believe with unusually violent deer, so that makes sense. And it is proved extremely effective on violent subjects, which also makes sense because that's why he wants to kill you. Because he thinks you're killing his deer, and in most cases you actually are. Oh, so this is Specimen 9. It's a giant head that all the text says, to take the dead, to take the dead, to take the dead. Specimen 10 can randomly show up as one of two, either the worm or the actual thing. The worm has killed nobody, and it's basically described as so useless it basically became a pet. The actual form has killed 245 people via parasitic infections. Obviously we know it's meant to be a person in there that he took over, but you know, either way he has been deemed too difficult to contain, and the specimen broke out of its containment area due to frequent electrical malfunctions, which is what we saw when we actually was in his area. Specimen 11 is apparently the second most effective killer since it has killed 317 people. He was found in a secret room below a restaurant chain and just leaves whenever he feels like it, and well, they've failed to contain him. Apparently it's not effective against people, because souls do not remain after contact. I would see killing 317 people as effective, but you know. Specimen 12, the picture is of the mansion, so it proves that the specimen is the mansion. It has killed 57 people, and is an old Victorian mansion that seems to build itself around the environment. The specimen sometimes chooses a host to possess and uses them to attack the subjects, aka the old man. It's proven very effective, but varies itself too often to be reliable method of killing. Reliable method of extraction. Specimen 13, which in the picture has a 50-50% chance of either showing her normal face or the hidden behind her hair face. She has killed 194 people via drowning. She is an ancient water-dwelling creature, believed to be a lost soul who died tragically during a deluge. It's proving extremely effective against subjects that could not swim or fell for her lure, also known as honey people. Speaking of Specimen 9, there is actually a way to view his cat DOS entry. There's two versions. There's the head form, which is the one that has killed the most people, being 362, but no one knows how. And is a small skull-shaped mass of clay. I don't know why it's clay, I thought it was blood. Yeah, they seem to gain more form as subjects were taken. Specimen was deemed too hard to contain and was killed and dismantled by the GL lab assistants. The other version of Specimen 9 also confirms why, before you go into the boss fight, it says 731. He has killed 42 people via various methods, but he is a survivor from Unit 731. Now, that is a real thing, and let's just say you do not want to know what Unit 731 has done. In other words, if you've played Call of Duty, specifically Black Ops 3, think of Zetsubo no Shima as Unit 731, and that gives you an idea. Anyway, it's unable to be contained, and is very effective against everyone, except for you, because you end up killing him. There are a few other specimens, but they're more joke ones as references to Akumakira's other games. But yeah, that is the base version of Spooky's Jumpscare Mansion. There's the Karamari Hospital DLC and the Dollhouse DLC, as well as an Endless mode, which will be their own videos. But As you can tell by how long this video is, or has been, it clearly is a lot to go by. So it's best if I do it in parts. Yeah, the game can be repetitive when it just comes to running through doors, but just when something actually shows up, it can get intense, especially when you're playing stuff like endless mode, which you will see eventually. But yeah, sorry this took so long. It was a mixture of work, IRL stuff, and then obviously recording the video and editing. Oh yeah, I wanted to hold back on this until I got a few videos in, but I do actually have a Patreon, and someone actually became a Patreon. So thank you to Harmonica Dave. I met you during Terrors and had a good game with you. So thanks again for doing that. Honestly though, it means a lot. Thank you. But yeah, I do have a Patreon, and it's at $2 at the lowest, and even at the lowest, you get your name at the credits, and you also get early access to the videos. I hope you all have a good day, and just don't let Spooky kidnap you, or else, well, you're becoming one of them. Bye!